Here is a before and after view of the area affected by the wildfire. So the photographs are taken 2 years apart. Of course, as we go for redeveloping this site, we have to be aware of some of the hazards that may not have been well understood when the original buildings for the camp were placed in this area. So this is an alluvial fan, deposited it on the shore of Okanagan Lake from the small watershed that goes past the fire station. And some of the hazards associated with the site, at least for the next few years, are going to be elevated because we tend to have a greater number and a larger size for debris flow events. And as we go up this watershed, past this little bedrock canyon and this small access road, you're going to see near the higher elevations in the watershed, things like this. So there is already soil being mobilized in this area that has been burned off during the wildfire. So there's soil being eroded and carried downstream. Little patches of it all through here. They're called sort of erosion and the creation of rills, small little gullies on the hillside, carrying, more examples, carrying sediment down the watershed. Some more examples here. And so if you have a situation in small little slumps and soil being eroded, if you have a situation where this ground is relatively saturated, for example, during the spring freshet, when the snow at the higher elevations here is still melting, and we have a spring rainstorm, we can mobilize a lot of debris in this channel, and it would be flushed down this channel, possibly incorporating some of this talus material that you see here. And so you can imagine a slurry of water and debris being carried down this channel, crossing this road, dropping down into this bedrock little canyon, and then eventually working its way all the way down into this area just west of the fire station, fire hall. And although there is a small little depression here that can absorb some sediment, if there's a big enough event, it would fill this completely up and then spill across the West Side Road. And then the question is, where does it go? This is a hill, so it's not going to affect this hill. It's very likely to travel through this area, and it could create a problem for any buildings that are going to be built in this area. And so there may be a need to create some deflection berms by moving soil around and stacking it up. Think of it as a dike that would only be functioning if and when there was a large debris flow coming down the channel that jumps over the West Side Road and then descends onto this fan. And so some careful analysis of the microtopography here is needed to first figure out where things are most likely to flow, and then where to best locate some diversion structures to keep the potential debris flow in a track that carries it down to the lake, where it bypasses any buildings that are constructed on this site. So something to consider as you're looking at the rebuild for this area. Of course, there is also some rockfall hazards on this slope here, and some of the rocks that are down here have probably fallen off of this thing in the past. And the strategy for dealing with that is to hopefully not build anything beyond a location where rocks have the potential to roll, bounce and roll. And you could also consider putting in a bit of a ditch in this area here to capture and retain rocks that roll down. And then perhaps on this side where this old soccer field was, on this side of that ditch, place a robust fence that could, again, help prevent any rocks from making it into the area where people are, living, or buildings are occupied, or any infrastructure that's going to be rebuilt in this area. And there may be some opportunities to go up there and proactively remove any rocks that look like they're ready to fall. And that's another great way of minimizing any rockfall risks, is just to scale and remove any rocks that are looking unstable. And it's of course best to do that before any development occurs down here, so that the rocks, as they roll down the hillside, don't have a chance of damaging any newly constructed buildings.